Now at 5:30, the toxic blue-green algae crisis. Remember this horrific scene from last spring? Beaches along southeast Florida were closed and businesses lost millions of dollars. CBS4 investigator Jim DeFede set out to find out how it got there, who's responsible, and why our drinking water is still at risk.
It's the topic of a one-hour documentary airing tomorrow night right here on CBS4 at 7 p.m. Here's a preview of the Everglades, where politics, race, and money collide.
From the very outset of this man-made tragedy, emotions ran high.
Try to sell a waterfront home when your vista is green, stinky slime on the water. Good luck being a realtor in that environment.
I'm going to catch hell for this, but it won't be the first time. I'm sorry, but when you're living on the intercoastal waterway in the state of Florida, and your $300,000 boat has got a little algae bumping up against it, I really can't shed a tear.
How did this happen? CBS4's Jim DeFede spent more than a year tracing the algae bloom and discovering along the way how the economically ravaged communities around the lake are caught between competing interests.
Oh, I think people don't understand why anybody would want to live here. I think they think it's the worst place on the face of this earth.
We searched for answers in the swamps of South Florida, the halls of the Capitol in Tallahassee, and right on up to Washington.
Do you think the farming community has been bad for the Everglades, bad for Florida?
I don't think intentionally, but clearly there are pollutants, there's pesticides. I mean, those aren't good things, you know, for a natural environment to exist, or for the species that exist within that natural environment. It kills stuff.
I believe we can do a lot to restore the Everglades and at the same time not have to wipe out the Glades communities.
The minute we lose the ability to have fresh water in South Florida, the economy is gone. Jobs are gone, let alone our water supply.
And we examine the successes and the failures behind the efforts to restore the river of grass.
Was this an area of friction between you and your brother, who was president at the time?
A little bit, yeah.
It's a miracle, really, there's any Everglades left, if you think about it. But what is there is certainly worth fighting and worth raising hell about.
The Everglades, where politics, money, and race collide.
You got some big names to appear in this. This is a big deal.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time, as you said, almost a year working on this and really wanting to trace through how this occurred, why this crisis happened, what was being done about it, and could it happen again.
And why do you say this is a crisis that affects the entire state?
Well, first off, let's remember the Florida economy is based largely on tourism. So when you start having economic or environmental crises that shut down beaches, that's not a message that you want to send around the country. But secondly, and more importantly, it's all tied together in the terms of the flow of water that comes out of Lake Okeechobee down through the Everglades, and ultimately it's our drinking water we're talking about. If there is not a good source of water moving south into the Everglades, replenishing the aquifer, then not only will you not be able to turn on the tap and get drinking water, let's say you like bottled water instead, fine. Try watering your lawn. You know, try opening a business that has no access to water. This is dollars and cents. You cannot survive as a community if you do not have a fresh source of water. And what happened in the algae crisis is a warning that if we don't get that right, we could all be at risk.
Not to mention the health consequences, Jim.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Very interesting and eye-opening investigation by Jim DeFede. 1 hour, no commercials, part of our station's commitment to critical issues in our community. The Everglades, where politics, money, and race collide, right here on CBS4 at 7 p.m. Set your recorder or watch it live on air at cbsmiami.com. That's tomorrow.